Hey everyone, my name is Mars, like the planet, and this is Housewarming. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 4 recipes that I have cooked at my last few parties. I love hosting and having people over, and I think that in order to host, you really need some simple, easy, go-to recipes. I know it can be quite stressful being in the kitchen trying to get all of these recipes done in time before your guests come, but I promise these are very easy to make. These are very straightforward and they taste good. So let's get into it. So the first recipe I'm going to be sharing with you guys is a queso. This is a queso blanco or Rotel dip as we call it in southern Louisiana. I think this is one of the easiest things you can make for a party, just chips and cheese, and you will definitely have a bunch of happy guests. So let's go ahead and get into the ingredients. So you really don't need a lot of ingredients to make queso. The first thing I'm going to be using is a package of cream cheese. Then I'm going to be using some mild diced tomatoes with green chilies. This is just a great value version of Rotel. Then I'm going to be using country sausage. This is 100% pork. And then Velveeta, the Queso Blanco brand. And then lastly, of course, you're going to need tortilla chips. So in a hot pan, I'm going to go ahead and start to brown my breakfast sausage. I know that some people use ground beef, but I do think using breakfast sausage just kind of sets this apart, and it really just adds a nice flavor. Then in a crock pot, I'm gonna go ahead and start melting down my Velveeta cheese. And I soon realized that this crock pot was quite small. I got this a few years ago from my grandmother, and it is just super tiny. I do have an actual fondue pot, but once again, you can make this on the stove, you can make this in a crock pot, you can make this in whatever type of vessel that you have, but I'm gonna go ahead and use this fondue pot. So I'm just cutting it into manageable slices. This is all going to melt down fairly quickly, and I'm just throwing all of the pieces in there. After I have my queso added, I'm gonna go ahead and use a block of cream cheese. You really don't need a full block, but I'm just adding maybe about 1/4 of that package in there. After that, it's time to go ahead on and throw in the tomatoes. I'm not gonna drain these or anything. I'm just gonna pour it all in. I'm gonna turn on my fondue pot. At that point, my breakfast sausage was browned, and I'm gonna throw that into the pot as well. As you can see, it's melting down pretty quickly for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and start stirring it up. I'm gonna go ahead and season this queso with a little bit of black pepper, some garlic powder, and some blackened seasoning. You can honestly use whatever you have in your pantry. And then lastly, I'm gonna add some crushed red peppers. I'm gonna give that a nice stir, and it's basically all done at this point. This queso comes together super quickly and only takes a few ingredients. I think it is one of the most easiest things to make for a game day or having friends over or just having it as an appetizer. And once again, you just serve it with chips and it's ready to go. The next recipe are wings. I think that you can't have a game day or movie night or having people over without wings. I think these are super easy, once again, to throw together. I like to put mine in the oven. I know that people have started using their air fryers, but I am making a large batch of wings and my air fryer can't hold all these wings at one time, so I'm gonna go ahead and put them in the oven. Now I am buying whole wings and then separating them myself. I do feel like it's a little bit cheaper to go ahead and buy whole wings. So I'm just taking a knife and separating the flats from the drums. This does take a little bit of practice, but you can feel the bone. You just want to use a sharp knife. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and separate the pointy bit. I don't know chicken anatomy, but you're going to go ahead and separate the other piece of the wing tip. You're going to go ahead and separate the wing tip and then throw that away. After I have all my pieces of chicken separated, I'm gonna go ahead and season this with garlic powder, paprika, blackened seasoning. I have this chicken herb spice rub, and then black pepper, but you can use whatever you like. I'm gonna go ahead and pat down my wings. I think that is the secret to getting crispy wings, is making sure your wings are basically bone dry. You wanna make sure you're getting all of that moisture out. So I just like to pat them with a paper towel a few times. Once I've seasoned, I'm just gonna use my hands and get in there. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that seasoning is evenly distributed on all of the wings. Now I'm ready to go ahead on and put it in the oven. I'm gonna heat my oven to 375, and I'm gonna use a parchment lined baking sheet and lay all of my wings out. After all of my wings are laid out, I'm gonna pat them dry one more time before they go in the oven for 40 minutes. I know that is quite a long time, but once again, you can put these in the air fryer for I think 20 minutes, but I'm gonna go ahead and put them in the oven. And this is after 40 minutes. You can see how crispy they are, but I do think they could go a little bit longer. Right now, I'm gonna be adding barbecue sauce to them. You can add buffalo sauce. You can add any type of sauce you may want on your wings, but I'm adding barbecue sauce. I'm just gonna go ahead and pour it on. Then I'm gonna put it on the broil setting and just get those wings super crispy. I am leaving some of my wings plain just in case my guests don't like barbecue wings, but this is after they've come out of the broiler, and you can see how crispy and delicious they look. They are super brown, they are super crunchy, and they are one of my favorite things to make. Next, I'm going to be making these cream cheese bacon stuffed peppers. These are once again a super easy recipe to make. So first, let's get into the ingredients. They are quite simple. So I found this bag of mini peppers at Walmart. These are the sweet to the point mini pointed peppers, and they come in a variety of colors. I'm also going to be using some mild shredded cheddar cheese, some bacon bits. You can use real bacon, but I just use the bacon pieces so I don't have to chop them, and some cream cheese. I ended up needing about a package and a half of cream cheese. So these are the peppers, and you can see that they are about jalapeno sized, but I didn't want to buy a bunch of jalapenos. I just ended up buying this bag, so I thought it was quite easy. After I rinse them, I'm going to start cutting them in half. So I'm just going to take a sharp knife and cut them in half. And then I'm going to go ahead and scoop out all of the seeds and the insides into this Walmart bag, and I'm going to go ahead and take off the stem as well. I think these peppers are super easy to clean out. I just used a spoon in a Walmart bag, and they were pretty easy to cut as well. I don't think they are bell peppers, but they do remind me of bell peppers, and they are a little bit sweeter than a bell pepper. I think these are great to eat raw as well. If you're just making an afternoon snack, you can just stuff these with cream cheese and a little bit of bacon bits, and they are perfectly fine. I don't think they have a bitter taste at all. I like to bake them just to make them a little bit softer and to melt the cheese we are going to put on top, but you can definitely serve these cold. After I have halved and cleaned these out, I'm going to rinse them in the sink one more time just to make sure I have all the seeds and insides completely out. So after I have rinsed these off, I'm ready to make our cream cheese stuffing. I needed a block and a half of cream cheese. This one singular block was not enough, but it is super easy just to make a little bit more if you need it. So I'm going to go ahead and open my package of cream cheese and add that to the bowl. Then I'm going to sprinkle in some cheddar cheese. I'm not really using measurements, I'm just kind of eyeballing this. And then I'm going to add my bacon bits. Now, if your cream cheese is not softened, it may take a little bit of elbow grease, but it does soften right up to go ahead and stir this together. And then once the mixture is combined, I'm going to add a little bit of freeze-dried chives. You can use the real thing, but this is what I had on hand. And then I'm going to season it just a little bit with some black pepper. And I have this Cajun seasoning. It's not necessary, but I did have it on hand and I just wanted to go ahead and incorporate it. So now it is time to stuff our peppers. I'm just going to take a spoon and go ahead and stuff each pepper individually and then place them on a parchment lined baking sheet. You can make these the day of, but you also can make them a day ahead. And like I said, you can go ahead and eat these cold. I think that these peppers taste perfectly fine raw. I actually found this recipe on Pinterest and I just thought it was a nice take on the jalapeno stuffed peppers. I really didn't want to buy individual jalapenos, and finding this bag at Walmart was just what I needed. And I thought this was more than enough for the guests that I was having over. So you can make this for a party, a potluck, a game day if you're watching football, or if you just want an afternoon snack for you or your kids. I think that these are great just to kind of have on hand, and they do store really well. So I'm just lining these up on a parchment lined baking sheet, and I'm going to preheat my oven to 400 degrees. I'm going to top them with a little bit more of shredded cheese, and then these are going to go in the oven for about 15 or so minutes. The peppers cook up quite quickly, so I'm just trying to let the cream cheese warm up a bit and then let the cheddar cheese on top melt. After 15 minutes, these are what they look like, and oh my gosh, they were so delicious and so good. I mean, cream cheese and bacon bits and more cheese, like the pepper is really just a means of getting cream cheese into your mouth, but it was just so good and so easy. They're really nice little snacks to have. And then, like I said, they do store very well, so you can eat them the next day. And lastly, I'm going to be making these ham and Swiss sandwiches on Hawaiian rolls. I shared this recipe a couple of years ago and you guys really loved it, so I wanted to include it one more time in my favorite recipes. This one has ham and Swiss cheese, but you can definitely use any type of meat and cheese pairing that you like. So first I'm going to be using the King's Hawaiian Rolls. I'm using the 24 count just because I had a larger amount of people coming, but if you don't have that many people that you need to serve, you can go ahead and use the 12 count. Then today I'm going to be using honey ham. This is just sliced deli meat. I'm going to be using a sliced Swiss cheese, but you can use any cheese or any meat that you like. I'm going to be using olive oil as well as Dijon mustard, but you once again are welcome to use any condiments that you like. First, I'm going to go ahead and take a serrated knife and separate the tops from the bottoms of the rolls. Someone had commented on my previous video that it might be easier to individually cut out all of the rolls, and while you could do that and have a bunch of individual sandwiches to make, you may need a bit of an assembly line to get these sandwiches done. I'm going to go ahead and top the top side of the bread with mayo. I think that this is really important just because the inside of Hawaiian rolls can be a little bit dry. So I think that it's important to add mayo just to add some flavor as well as some moisture to keep the rolls moist. After I have that all spread on the top layer, on the bottom layer, I'm going to be adding Dijon mustard. I'm not going to put a lot just because Dijon mustard can be a little bit spicy and I just don't want to overwhelm people's palate at all. After I have layered my Dijon mustard, I'm gonna put a layer of Swiss cheese down. You can really use any cheese that you like or prefer. This time I'm using Swiss cheese. Before I've used Colby Jack, I used cheddar, I've used mozzarella cheese. So any type of cheese that really melts down is really gonna be great for these sliders. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and layer 2 layers of ham. Once again, you can use any type of deli meat that you like. I've seen people use pepperoni, pastrami, bologna, any type of meat that you like that might pair well with a cheese. I think that will make these sliders really great. And once again, they are super customizable and easy. After I put on my 2 layers of ham, then it's time for 1 more layer of Swiss cheese. And then these sandwiches are ready to go in the oven. Before I put them in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and melt a couple of tablespoons of butter. I'm going to add garlic powder as well as Italian seasoning. I'm gonna put this in the microwave for a few seconds just to go ahead and melt the butter, and then I'm gonna pour it on top of all of the rolls. I will say that this was a bit too much butter. I think I was trying to make it super buttery and nice, but I think my sandwiches were a little too wet after, so I kind of had to pour some of the butter out. So maybe use less than what I did. Maybe you don't need a full 2 tablespoons of butter. After all the butter is ladled on and all over the rolls, you're gonna go ahead and pop this in the oven. I heated my oven to about 375 degrees and I cooked these for about 15 minutes or until the cheese is melted. I made sure to cover the tops with aluminum foil first just so the bread did not burn and the cheese had a chance to melt. This is what it looks like after I have taken all of the aluminum foil off, and then I put them back in the oven just so the tops could brown a little bit. This is how the sandwiches look, and then I'm going to cut them apart and put them on a serving platter. I think that these sliders are super easy to make and they are super delicious. Every time I make them, someone always asks me for the recipe, and like you just saw, they are super easy to make. I really hope that you found this video helpful. I post videos every single Wednesday, so I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!